Hi everyone! Welcome to my first webinar. This is Emily Ching from Vancouver, BC, and the topic today is how to have a thriving business with the words we use, using the law of attraction and taking the path of least resistance. Welcome to my first webinar. So again, I'll introduce myself. My name is Emily Ching from Vancouver, BC. I have been in the real estate industry for the past 6 years and online marketing, helping entrepreneur with Facebook marketing strategies for the past year. So this is my family. My husband's name is Eric and we have 2 girls, Erin, she's 11, and Ella, who is 9, and we're all in Vancouver. So full disclosure before I go on, I'm not taking credit for any of the material. I am relaying what I have learned from books, seminars, events, mentorship, and I'm sharing with you what worked for me. I will list my sources at the end of the webinar, and I will also email them to all of you who have registered. So what I will present is are the struggles in our profession. I'll talk about what the law of attraction is, how it will help our business, and how we can assess ourselves from the positive and negative scale. And I'll talk about my experience and how I decided to host a webinar because of this. So my goal is, if there's only one person that I can help through this webinar, then my job is done. I'm happy. So let's talk about our struggles first. So my main thing, and I think I will speak in behalf of most of you, the main struggle is where we get qualified leads. If we don't have qualified leads, then there's nothing to work with, right? And unfortunately, there are times that we have to work for free. And as we all know, if a transaction doesn't go through, we don't get paid. We have to deal with difficult clients. And we spend a small fortune on lead generation services and advertising. Personally, and this is when I first started, I've showed over 40 properties to one buyer without them buying anything. So by the maybe 45th property, I told the buyer, if you're not ready to buy, then we stop looking and just call me if you're ready. And at that point, because I was new, of course, I was so afraid to lose a client, but it actually turned out the other way. So we stopped looking at that time. But 3 years after, the family bought 2 properties from me. So fortunately, I was able to turn that around. But I know there are times that doesn't happen. I've showed properties to a buyer and they chose to work with someone else without telling me. And I find out after the fact. I've cold called and been hung up on and lied to many times. I've spent a lot on advertising and lead generation services. And the list goes on, right? And it also depends on where we are and what kind of market we're in. We all have been in that same situation. We don't prospect and make sales. We don't feed our families. It's plain and simple. So how can these situations affect us? We can constantly worry. We feel anxiety and we feel fear. And what do these lead to? In the extreme case, it can lead to depression. It can lead to ill health and sickness. And it can lead to work and life imbalance. So when we don't have leads to work with, we don't have clients in our pipeline, we keep on chasing that client and we tend to neglect everything else because of that chase, right? So there's an imbalance right there. So when does it end? It can actually end now. It's as simple as making a decision today. It can end with the words we use, so we only attract what we want to our business. So that brings me to the law of attraction. Simply put, the law of attraction is said to be a universal law that states every person has the ability to attract things into their life with their thoughts and intentions. If someone is thinking and believing negative things all the time, they will attract them into their experience. If someone is thinking positive things all the time, they will attract that into their experience. In theory, someone could also use the law of attraction to attract situations, experiences, and material objects into their lives. What does this have to do with our profession? It has to do with a lot, actually. Do you know that we are suffering because of our own doing? It isn't because of what is happening around us. It's because of how we react to them. It is because we attach meaning to what happens around us. Classic example, when someone cuts us off on the road, what do? Drop the F-bomb? Yell what a stupid driver that person is? I'm willing to bet that the other person did not even realize what they did. We, on the other hand, have lost our cool. And so who's the loser? Why did we allow that person to take away our happiness? We are the ones attaching meanings to events. As Dr. Wayne Dyer said, have a mind open to everything but attached to nothing. When your kids or spouse leave dirty clothes on the floor, do you really think they did that to make you mad? They probably just forgot, right? Is it really a big deal for us to be upset? So instead of saying, why can't you clean up after yourselves? Do I need to do everything around here? Maybe try this. Can you pick up after yourselves next time? So when you ask those two questions, there's a huge difference in your physiology. So which one would you pick, right? Which one would you rather have? Which state do you want to be in? So applying that to our profession and considering more common problems such as a friend or relative using another agent instead of us, I know that makes us mad. Or a seller wanting to price their property way over market value, or how our buyer is lying to us about being pre-approved, or our client wanting to discount our commission. We don't need to attach meanings to these events. They are what they are and we deal with them objectively. People do things because of many different reasons. And most of the time it is not because of you. We attach meanings to events that actually stresses us out. If you had a relative who chose to sell with another agent, ask why, learn from it, and move on. If you don't want to talk to them, I would advise you the same thing. Move on. Go on to the next client. Holding on to this particular event is how we are attracting the negativity. We don't just say it, we even write about it and talk to other people about it. When something bad happens, just tell yourself, that's done. I'm on the path to meeting fabulous clients who are going to be loyal to me. Or I will meet clients who are going to be fully cooperative, and make these your affirmation. Say it over and over again. And if these statements happen or not, the event that transpired did not change, yet you maintained a positive outlook. So tip number 1, do not attach meanings to events. I understand that we need to vent. And that goes to tip number 2 that I'm giving you. Say it once and let it go. And I found this quote from Eckhart Tolle. Sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on, which is very, very true. So remember, like attracts like, and the opposite works the same way. So talking about negative events will only attract negative events. So how do you assess yourself? Think about the words we typically use. Do we have negative thoughts during the day? Do we react or do we respond? I'll talk about taking the path of least resistance and also ask, do we have limiting beliefs? Think about the words we typically use. When you woke up this morning, what was your first thought? Were they words of gratitude? Were they words of dread? Did you have to drag yourself out of bed? Your whole day is affected by the intentions you set in the morning. Do you have negative thoughts throughout the day? Do you know that the average person has 80% negative thoughts within a day? That's a lot. This is from an article from Jennifer Hawthorne, an inspirational speaker and an award-winning author specializing in inspirational presentations. Thoughts containing words like never and can't, complaints, whining, or thoughts that diminish our own or another's sense of self-worth deplete the body by producing corresponding chemicals that weaken our physiology. It's the reason why we are so tired if we are worried or anxious about something. It's not the fatigue, but the chemicals produced by our bodies because of negative thoughts. Do we react or do we respond? It's often said that it's not what happens around you, it's how we handle it. So going back to our example of a client using another agent instead of us, how do we handle that? Do we react or do we respond? There is one thing I'm sure of. Heaping ill feelings about the situation will not serve you. Instead, respond with class and grace and let it go. And be open to the possibilities of better things coming your way. Taking the path of least resistance. The first step to success is getting out of our own way. When something happens that is not to our liking, we ask ourselves, we second guess ourselves. What if I did this or that? Or maybe I should have done this instead? With these questions, we are resisting what is possible for us because we are hanging on to the event. Instead, be open. Expect abundance and awesomeness. That is taking the path of least resistance. You know when you forget something and it's at the tip of your tongue? You force yourself to remember and nothing happens? And then you eventually give up and then the answer comes immediately? That is what it means to take the path of least resistance. That leads me to tip number 3. Let go and expect and feel that you already have what you want. Begin to live as though your prayers are already answered. There is no shortage of abundance. There is more than enough for every one of us. Do you have limiting beliefs? A limiting belief is a false belief that a person acquires as a result of making an incorrect conclusion about something in life. For example, a person could acquire a limiting belief about his ability to succeed as soon as he fails. I am a loser, I am a failure, or I can't succeed are examples of limiting beliefs that people collect throughout their lives. Limiting beliefs force you to live below your potential. The limitations we think we have only exist in our heads. At this point, I need to explain that this is only the tip of the iceberg. I can go on for hours talking about limiting beliefs and what you can do to reverse these thoughts. Having said that, I want to tell you how I got here, why I decided to host this short and hopefully helpful webinar for you. I've always been on the path of personal development. Every book I read or listen to would always be either self-help or spiritual. I don't even remember the last time I read a fiction novel. My personal development took a huge turn when I attended Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within in 2015. I could say that it's one of the best things that happened to my husband and I, as it propelled us to be on the same goal paths. But like all other events, seminar and books, if the fire dies down and the application of what we learned fades, then it's useless. We need to be accountable and keep on taking action for us to succeed. 3 weeks ago, I attended a local 3-day event that gave me my biggest shift. I challenged myself for the next few days after the event to be open to what life has in store for me. I promised myself not to worry about work, clients, or anything, and the most unexpected things happened. I received 2 phone calls 2 days after. One was a buyer referred by a client, and the other one from a friend who planned to buy a home next year, and both were ready to buy now. 4 days after that, a friend called and asked if I can help manage their property with 12 tenants. On the same day, I called a previous prospect who was not open to selling his house, and this time he said yes. After that, I had 3 other calls from potential clients from my other business. All this happened because I made a conscious effort of being positive and letting go of what does not serve me. And making a conscious effort of letting God and the universe take its course and to be open to the abundance that is available. And making a conscious effort setting my intentions in the morning before I start my day. And setting my intention before any task or appointment. This concludes my presentation. I hope it helped you somehow to put a positive spin in your daily lives. Leave all the junk behind because not only is it a burden, but it does not serve you. So this is my challenge to you for this coming week, or maybe at least the next 3 days. Speak only of good things. Do not talk about the past, especially the bad things that happened. Be sincerely open to the abundance available to all of us. And as I promised, I will give you the sources that I have, the people I listen to, and the books I've read. Personalities, I listen to Dr. Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, Abraham Hicks, Colin Sprake, Jennifer Hawthorne, and all of them, well, at least the first 4 are all available on YouTube. And books, I would recommend Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich, Ask and It Is Given, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, The Secret, The Power, The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, The Go-Giver Sells More, and Awaken the Giant Within. So thank you for listening. And again, thank you for attending my webinar, and you are appreciated.